All right, everyone, let's jump right into it. Look, out here on the water, we all know the obvious risks. But there's another threat, one that's silent and honestly relentless, and that's the cold. This isn't just another safety briefing. Think of this as your survival guide, because knowing this stuff could save your life or the life of the person standing right next to you.
So, let me ask you a question. What happens when your body temperature drops by just 1 single degree? It doesn't sound like much, does it? But that 1 degree, that's where the danger really starts. It's the exact point where your body starts losing the fight and where your brain and muscles begin to check out. It's a sneaky threat, and it creeps up on you fast.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. We've got 5 key areas. First, we'll get to know our enemy, what we're actually up against. Then we'll learn how to spot the signs of its attack. After that, we'll talk about your best defense, prevention. Then what to do in an emergency, your first response. And finally, the right way to handle a casualty. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first. Before you can fight something, you've got to understand it. So what exactly is hypothermia when we cut through all the medical jargon?
Here it is, plain and simple. It's not just about feeling a bit chilly. It's an actual medical state where your body's core gets so cold that your muscles and, this is the really critical part, your brain stop working right. And that's what makes it so dangerous. The person's judgment gets impaired, so they often have no idea how much trouble they're really in.
And this is the number you have to remember. 35 degrees Celsius or 95 Fahrenheit. A healthy body hums along at about 37 Celsius. When your core drops to this number, you're officially in a medical emergency. That's all it takes.
And I'm willing to bet this list looks pretty familiar to all of you, because this isn't some textbook scenario, this is our workplace. It's the constant exposure, it's the biting wind, it's the spray, it's being stuck in wet gear. It's even just standing a long watch without moving enough, or worst case, a man overboard situation. Every single one of these is a direct threat out here.
So, let's talk about how this thing progresses. Because a victim's mind gets foggy, it's really up to the rest of us, the crew, to keep our eyes open. Recognizing these signs isn't just a good idea. It's your absolute duty to your shipmates.
Now check this out. Look how fast things go downhill. It all starts with something simple, right? Shivering. But then it gets worse. You see weakness, stumbling, some confusion. Then the person can't use their hands, their speech gets slurred. But here, right here, is the moment you have to watch for. Between 90 and 86 degrees, the shivering stops. This is a terrifying 5-alarm fire kind of sign. It means the body is out of fuel, it's given up trying to warm itself, and it's starting to shut down.
And this chart shows you why it's so tricky. The person who's in trouble just feels incredibly cold and tired. They don't want to keep going. But what you see is something different. You see someone fumbling, slurring their words, making really bad decisions. They might even get argumentative. You have to be their lifeline because they've completely lost the ability to help themselves. So you're looking for these signs.
Okay, so we know what it is and what it looks like. But you know what? The best way to win this fight is to make sure it never even starts. Prevention is, without a doubt, our most powerful weapon.
And the strategy is pretty straightforward. You've got to fuel your body's internal furnace with high-energy snacks. Dress in layers. It's not about one big, thick coat. And that rule about wet clothing, it is non-negotiable. Wet gear will suck the heat right out of you. So get out of it immediately. And if you start to feel those early signs, don't just ignore it. Get moving. Have a warm, sweet drink. Take action before it gets serious.
But, sometimes things go wrong. If prevention fails, we have to be ready to act, and act fast. The second you think a crewmate has hypothermia, a clock starts ticking. What you do in those first 5 minutes can absolutely mean the difference between life and death.
So here are your first 3 actions, no exceptions. First, check for signs of life. Airway, breathing, pulse. Now, be aware their pulse and breathing might be incredibly slow and faint, so you have to check carefully for a full minute. Second, you have to stop them from getting any colder. The key word here is gently. Move them gently. Cut off wet clothes gently. Wrap them up. Third, you get on the radio and arrange for a medevac or transport to a facility.
Now, this slide is critical because a lot of our natural instincts are actually dead wrong and can be fatal. Just look at that do not column. You do not let them walk it off, you do not give them alcohol, and you absolutely do not rub their skin or massage their arms and legs to warm them up. Stick to the do column. Be gentle, warm the core, the chest, neck, and head, and only give them warm drinks if they are 100% conscious and can swallow.
And here's exactly why those do nots are so important. It's a nasty phenomenon called afterdrop. See, when you start rubbing cold arms and legs, you force all that freezing cold blood from the limbs back into the body's core. That can make the core temperature suddenly plummet even further, which can shock the heart and cause it to stop. This is why being gentle isn't just a suggestion, it's a life-saving command.
All right, in this last section, we're going to talk specifics on handling the casualty. And what you do next depends entirely on one simple question.
This is it. This is the big question that decides everything you do from this point on. Is the person conscious? Because your answer is going to send you down two very different treatment paths.
So if the person is unconscious, your job is basically life support. Get them to shelter, roll them into the recovery position to protect their airway in case they vomit, and then you monitor their breathing and heart rate like a hawk. The goal here is not to actively rewarm them. It's to stop any more heat loss, insulate them well, and keep them stable until help arrives.
Okay, now if they are conscious, you have another question to answer. How long were they exposed? If it was short, say less than half an hour, and they're shivering like crazy, that's a good sign. You can be a little more aggressive. Get the wet clothes off, a warm shower can be okay. But if the exposure was long, and especially if they have stopped shivering, you have to treat them very carefully. Lay them down, insulate them completely, and avoid any rough movements to prevent that deadly afterdrop.
So let's wrap it all up. Out here, the cold is always going to be a part of the job, but it doesn't have to be a killer. It really all boils down to one thing: being prepared. If you know the signs and you know the procedure, you have the power to step in and save a life. It's that simple. Stay warm out there and stay vigilant.